My daughter called me screaming that my dying husband was laughing in a restaurant with another woman. But I'd just left him home in bed, claiming he was too weak to move. 3 hours later, I walked into that same restaurant and watched my husband kiss a blonde woman while my daughter recorded it on her phone. That's when I realized I'd been living a lie for 3 years. I was changing Mrs. Patterson's for when my phone buzzed. Monique's name flashed across the screen, and something in my gut told me this wasn't good. "Mama," she gasped. "Raymond's at Olive Garden with another woman. He's kissing her, Mama. Right in front of everyone." My hands froze. Raymond? The man I'd left home in bed 3 hours ago. Too sick to even sit up? The man who'd been too weak to help me carry groceries yesterday? "That's impossible," I said, but my voice was shaking. "Mama, I'm looking at him right now. He's healthy, he's laughing, and he's got his arm around her waist like they're lovers." Before I could respond, my phone rang again. Raymond's name appeared, and I answered with trembling fingers. "Lillian, honey," he said, his voice weak and raspy. "I'm feeling a little better. I think I might be able to eat some soup later." My blood ran cold. This was the same man who'd been too sick to lift his head off the pillow when I left for work. The same man who'd begged me to call in sick so I could stay home and take care of him. "Raymond," I said, "where are you right now?" "I'm home, sweetheart. Right where you left me."
Why?
"Is everything okay?" That's when I knew. Raymond was lying to me, and he was doing it so smoothly that it made me question everything I thought I knew about our marriage. I told Mrs. Patterson I had a family emergency and rushed to my car. But before I could start the engine, my supervisor, Mrs. Williams, was knocking on my window. "Lillian," she said, her face stern. "This is the third time this month you've left your shift early. If you keep taking personal calls during work hours, I'll have to let you go." "I understand," I said, but my mind was racing. I needed to get to that restaurant. I needed to see what Monique was talking about. "Your job is on the line, Lillian. Don't make me choose between you and the hospital's policies." When I pulled into the Olive Garden parking lot, Monique was waiting in her car, her face pressed against the window. She looked terrified. "Mama," she said when I got to her car. "They're still in there. Table 12 by the window. I've been recording everything." I walked into that restaurant like I was walking to my own execution. And there he was, my Raymond, sitting at table 12, looking healthier than I'd seen him in months. His color was good, his posture was strong, and he was laughing at something the woman across from him had said. But it wasn't just any woman. She was young, maybe 35, with long blonde hair and a smile that could light up a room. And the way Raymond was looking at her, it was the way he used to look at me when we first met. I stood there for what felt like hours, watching my husband live a life I didn't know existed. Watching him be the man I'd fallen in love with, but with someone else. Someone who wasn't me. That's when Raymond looked up and saw me. His face went white, and for a split second, I saw the man I'd married. The man who'd promised to love me forever. But then his expression changed, and I saw something else entirely. Something that made my blood run cold.
He wasn't sorry.
He wasn't embarrassed. He was angry. Before I could move, before I could say a word, Raymond was on his phone. And 30 seconds later, my phone was ringing. "Lillian," he said, his voice cold and hard. "You need to leave.
Right now."
You're making a scene." "Making a scene?" I whispered. "Raymond, I'm your wife. What are you doing here with another woman?" "That's none of your business," he said. "Now get out of here before you embarrass yourself further." That's when I knew this wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just a mistake. This was something else entirely. This was a man who'd been living a double life, and I'd been too blind to see it. As I walked out of that restaurant, I could feel Monique's eyes on me. I could feel the pity from the other diners who'd witnessed my humiliation. But more than anything, I could feel the weight of everything I'd lost in those few minutes. My marriage, my trust, my belief that love was enough. But what I didn't know then was that this was just the beginning. Because Raymond wasn't just cheating on me. He was planning something much worse. Something that would make this restaurant scene look like child's play. And the worst part? He'd been planning it for years. For months, I'd been finding receipts for restaurants I'd never been to, but I never imagined my husband was dining with another woman. Then I discovered the real pattern, and it terrified me. I couldn't sleep after the restaurant incident. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Raymond's face. Not guilt, but pure rage. Like I'd interrupted something sacred. At 2 a.m., I crept downstairs to our home office. Raymond's laptop sat open, glowing in the darkness. I'd never violated his privacy before, but tonight felt different. The first thing I found was a folder labeled Business Expenses. Inside were receipts for places I'd never heard of: the Golden Spoon, Bella Vista, the wine cellar. Dates spanning 2 years. Amounts that made my stomach churn. But the real shock came when I opened his email. There, in black and white, was correspondence with someone named CM about our future together. I found it hidden in his golf bag, wrapped in a handkerchief like a precious secret. When I powered it on, my world collapsed. Photos of Raymond with a blonde woman at beaches, hotels, restaurants. She was stunning, maybe 30, with long blonde hair and a smile that could light up a room. The way Raymond looked at her in those photos, it was the way he used to look at me. The text messages were worse than the photos. Love letters, future plans, promises. Raymond telling her he was working on the situation with me. Messages about soon we'll be together permanently. One message made my blood freeze. She's getting suspicious. We need to accelerate the timeline. The next morning, I tried to act normal. Raymond made breakfast, kissed me goodbye, and left for work like nothing had happened. But I noticed something different in his eyes, a coldness that hadn't been there before. Monique came downstairs, avoiding my gaze. Daddy said you're being paranoid about his work dinners, she said quietly. That's when I realized how alone I was. My own daughter was taking Raymond's side. My sister Patricia had been calling, asking if I was overreacting again. Even my best friend Carol seemed to be avoiding my calls. I was being systematically cut off from everyone who mattered to me. That afternoon, I made a choice that would change everything. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. I wasn't going to let Raymond destroy my life while I sat back and watched. I called a private investigator. I need you to follow my husband, I said. I need to know everything. The investigator's name was Frank Morrison, and he'd been doing this for 20 years. Mrs. Henderson, I've seen this story before. Usually ends one of 2 ways: divorce or murder. Which one do you think it'll be? I asked. Frank looked at me with knowing eyes. Depends on how far you're willing to go to protect yourself. The second phone revealed Raymond had been living a completely different life for over 2 years. But the real shock was discovering who else knew about it. I spent 3 days going through every message, every photo, every detail on that second phone. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Raymond wasn't just having an affair, he was living a double life. The woman's name was Cassandra, and she was 28 years old. A real estate agent who'd met Raymond at an open house 2 years ago. But here's what made my blood boil. They'd been planning their future together. Raymond had promised to leave me, promised to marry her, promised to give her everything I'd worked for. The messages revealed a plan that made me physically sick. Raymond had been systematically draining our accounts, transferring money to secret accounts in Cassandra's name. Not just our joint savings. He'd been taking money from my personal inheritance, money my grandmother had left me. The worst part? He'd been doing it while telling me we couldn't afford to fix the leaky roof or replace my car's broken transmission. But the real shock came when I found messages between Raymond and my own sister, Patricia. They'd been talking for months. Patricia knew about Cassandra. She'd been covering for Raymond, making excuses for his late nights, his mysterious trips, his growing distance from me. Even worse, Patricia had been encouraging him. "You deserve happiness," she'd written. "Lillian's been holding you back for years." The most devastating discovery was Monique's involvement. My own daughter had been meeting with Cassandra. They'd been shopping together, having lunch, acting like they were family. Monique had been calling Cassandra Aunt Cassie and telling her how much she wished Raymond would finally be happy. Raymond's business trips weren't business trips at all. They were romantic getaways with Cassandra. Weekends in the mountains, trips to the beach, even a week in Cancun that I'd paid for thinking it was a work conference. The receipts were all there. Hotels, restaurants, gifts. Thousands of dollars spent on another woman while I'd been scrimping and saving to make ends meet. The final blow came when I found a message from Cassandra to Raymond. "I'm late. I think we're going to have a baby." Raymond's response: "This is perfect timing. By the time the baby comes, we'll be together permanently." I couldn't take it anymore. I confronted Raymond with everything I'd found. I expected denial, maybe even tears. Instead, he looked at me with those cold eyes and said, "You shouldn't have been snooping through my things." That's when I realized how alone I was. My husband, my sister, my daughter, they'd all been living a life I wasn't part of. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If Raymond wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If he wanted to lie, I'd become the best liar he'd ever met. But first, I needed to catch him in the act. And I had a plan that would expose him completely. The trap was set. Raymond had no idea what was coming. Raymond wasn't just cheating, he was planning to leave me with nothing. And he had help from people I trusted most. Frank Morrison had been following Raymond for a week when he called me. "Mrs. Henderson, you need to see this. Your husband's been meeting with divorce lawyers." I drove to Frank's office, where he showed me photos of Raymond entering Marcus Thompson's law firm. "Thompson specializes in high-asset divorces," Frank said. "He's known for helping husbands hide money from their wives." Frank had been digging into our finances. What he found made me physically ill. Raymond had been systematically moving money out of our joint accounts, not just to restaurants and gifts, but to offshore accounts, shell companies, trusts in his name only. "He's moved over $300,000 so far," Frank said. "And he's not done." But the real shock came when Frank showed me surveillance photos. Raymond meeting with Patricia at coffee shops, having long conversations with Carol, even talking to Monique's teachers about family problems. "He's been building a case against you," Frank said, "making you look unstable, unreliable, even dangerous." Frank had been recording Raymond's conversations. I listened to him telling Patricia that I was losing it, that I was paranoid, that I was pushing him away with my jealousy. Even worse, I heard him telling Monique that I was the problem, that I was making things up because I was jealous. Raymond had been having me followed. Private investigators had been watching me, taking photos, documenting my every move. He'd been building a case against me, gathering evidence to use in the divorce. The photos were all there, me at work, me at the grocery store, me visiting my grandmother's grave. Even photos of me sleeping. But the worst discovery was the recordings. Raymond had been secretly recording our conversations, our arguments, even our intimate moments. He'd been building a case against me, gathering evidence to use in the divorce. The recordings were all there, me crying, me yelling, me begging him to love me again. Even recordings of me talking to my therapist. Raymond's plan was simple: make me look unstable, make me look unfaithful, make me look like a bad mother. Then he'd get full custody of Monique, keep all our assets, and start a new life with Cassandra. That night, I made a choice that would change everything. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. I wasn't going to let Raymond destroy my life while I sat back and watched. I called Frank Morrison. I need you to help me fight back, I said. I need to protect myself and my daughter. Frank smiled. Mrs. Henderson, I was hoping you'd say that, because I have a plan that will expose Raymond completely. I had 48 hours to catch Raymond in the act, but I didn't know he was already planning to kill me. Frank Morrison arrived with a suitcase full of equipment, hidden cameras, recording devices, GPS trackers. We're going to turn your house into a surveillance operation, he said. Raymond will never know he's being watched. I spent the day installing cameras throughout our home while Raymond was at work. In picture frames, behind books, even in the bathroom, the cameras would catch everything. Raymond came home early that day, catching me installing a camera in the living room. I expected him to be furious, to demand I remove everything. Instead, he smiled. Interesting, he said, examining the camera. You're learning to play the game. That's when I realized Raymond had been expecting this. He'd been waiting for me to fight back. Monique confronted me that evening. Mama, Daddy says you're spying on him. Is that true? I looked at my daughter, my own flesh and blood, and I saw a stranger. Monique, your father is having an affair. He's been lying to us for years. Monique's face hardened. Daddy says you're paranoid. He says you're making things up because you're jealous. That night, I received an anonymous text. He knows you're watching. Be careful. I didn't know who sent it, but I knew it was a warning. Raymond wasn't just aware of my surveillance, he was planning something. The next morning, Raymond announced he was going on a business trip to Chicago. I'll be back in 3 days, he said, kissing me on the forehead like nothing was wrong. But I knew better. Raymond wasn't going to Chicago. He was going somewhere else, and I was going to follow him. I followed Raymond to the airport, but he didn't go to the terminal. Instead, he drove to a motel on the outskirts of town. The same motel where I'd found receipts for romantic getaways with Cassandra. I parked across the street and watched as Raymond checked in. But he wasn't alone. A man in a dark suit was waiting for him in the parking lot. The man in the dark suit wasn't Cassandra. He was something much worse. I could see it in his eyes, in the way he moved, in the way he looked at Raymond. This wasn't a business meeting. This was something else entirely. I crept closer, trying to hear what they were saying. The job is simple, the man said. Make it look like an accident. No witnesses, no evidence, no questions. That's when I realized what Raymond was planning. He wasn't just going to divorce me, he was going to kill me. I had my phone recording everything. Raymond's voice, the hitman's instructions, the details of their plan. She's been getting too close, Raymond said. She knows too much. We need to handle this before she goes to the police. The hitman nodded. When do you want it done? Tomorrow night, Raymond said. While she's sleeping. Make it look like a heart attack. I ran back to my car, my heart pounding. Raymond wasn't just cheating on me. He was planning to murder me. And he had help from people I'd never met. I drove home in a daze, trying to process what I'd heard. Raymond had hired a hitman to kill me. My own husband wanted me dead. That night, I called Frank Morrison. Raymond's planning to kill me, I said.
He's hired a hitman.
I have it all on recording. Frank was silent for a moment. Mrs. Henderson, this changes everything. We need to act fast, and we need to act smart. What do you mean? I mean we're going to turn Raymond's plan against him. We're going to make him think he's won, and then we're going to destroy him completely. The hitman wasn't there to kill me. He was there to kill Raymond. But Cassandra had other plans. I spent the night in a hotel, too afraid to go home. Raymond had hired a hitman to kill me, and I didn't know who else was involved. My sister? My daughter? My best friend? I couldn't trust anyone. The next morning, I received a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Henderson? This is Detective Martinez. We need to talk about your husband. Detective Martinez? I'd never heard of him. What about my husband? We have reason to believe he's planning to harm you. Can you meet me at the police station? I met Detective Martinez at the police station. He was a tall man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Mrs. Henderson, we've been investigating your husband for months. We believe he's involved in something much bigger than an affair. What do you mean? Your husband has been embezzling money from his company. We've been tracking his movements, his phone calls, his meetings. We believe he's planning to disappear with the money. Detective Martinez showed me evidence of Raymond's embezzlement. Bank statements, wire transfers, offshore accounts. Raymond had been stealing money from his company for years, building a fortune that would allow him to disappear forever. But why would he want to kill me? I asked. Because you're the only one who knows about the money. You're the only one who can expose him. Detective Martinez revealed the hitman's identity. His name was Victor, and he was a known criminal with a history of violence. But here's what shocked me. Victor wasn't working for Raymond. He was working for Cassandra. Cassandra hired Victor to kill Raymond, Detective Martinez said. She's been planning this for months. She wants the money for herself. That's when I realized what was really happening. Raymond had been planning to kill me, but Cassandra had been planning to kill Raymond. It was a double cross within a double cross. Cassandra had been using Raymond to get access to the money, but she'd never intended to share it with him. She'd been planning to take everything for herself. Detective Martinez arranged a meeting with Cassandra. We need to get her to confess, he said. But we need to be careful. She's dangerous. We met Cassandra at a coffee shop. She was beautiful, young, and completely confident. Mrs. Henderson, she said, smiling. I've been wanting to meet you for months. Cassandra didn't deny anything. She admitted to the affair, admitted to the embezzlement, even admitted to hiring Victor to kill Raymond. He was getting too greedy, she said. He wanted to keep all the money for himself. I couldn't let that happen. But here's what Cassandra didn't know. Detective Martinez wasn't a real detective. He was an undercover agent working for the FBI. They'd been investigating Raymond for months, and they'd been using me to get to him. That's when the real police arrived. They arrested Cassandra, Victor, and Raymond. The FBI had been watching everything, recording every conversation, documenting every crime. The truth was finally revealed. Raymond had been embezzling money from his company for years. Cassandra had been helping him, but she'd been planning to double-cross him. Victor had been hired to kill Raymond, but the FBI had been watching everything. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If Raymond wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If he wanted to kill me, I'd kill him first. But first, I needed to protect myself. And I had a plan that would expose him completely. The trap was set. Raymond had no idea what was coming. My daughter was kidnapped, but not by who I thought. The real kidnapper was someone I trusted with my life. I was at the police station when my phone rang. Monique's number flashed across the screen, but when I answered, it wasn't her voice. Mrs. Henderson? We have your daughter. If you want to see her alive again, you'll do exactly what we say. My blood ran cold. Who is this? What do you want?
Money.
$500,000 in cash. You have 24 hours to get it, or your daughter dies. The kidnapper hung up, leaving me staring at my phone in shock. Monique had been kidnapped, and they wanted $500,000 for her safe return. But here's what didn't make sense. We didn't have $500,000. Raymond had been embezzling money, but most of it was gone. The kidnappers had to know that. Detective Martinez took the call seriously. We'll track the phone, set up surveillance, do everything we can to find your daughter. But I had a feeling something was wrong. The kidnapper's voice had sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. 2 hours later, my phone rang again. Mrs. Henderson? We're running out of time. Do you have the money? I don't have $500,000, I said. We don't have that kind of money. Then you'd better find it. Your daughter's life depends on it. That's when I realized what was really happening. The kidnapper's voice wasn't familiar because I'd heard it before. It was familiar because it was fake. Someone was using a voice changer to disguise their identity. But who would want to kidnap Monique? And why would they think we had $500,000? I started to suspect everyone. Raymond? He was in jail, but he had connections. Cassandra? She was in jail too, but she had friends. My sister? She'd been working with Raymond. My best friend? She'd been feeding Raymond information. But the real question was, who had access to Monique? Who could have taken her without anyone noticing? That's when I remembered something. Monique had been acting strange lately. She'd been secretive, evasive, spending more time away from home. I'd thought it was because of the divorce, but what if it was something else? What if Monique wasn't really kidnapped? What if she was in on the scheme? I called Monique's phone again, but this time I didn't play along. Monique, I know this is you. Stop playing games and come home. There was silence on the other end, then a click. The phone went dead. That's when I realized what was really happening. Monique wasn't kidnapped. She was the kidnapper. She'd been working with someone to stage her own kidnapping, probably to get money from me. But who is she working with? And why would she do something like this? I started investigating Monique's recent activities. Her phone records, her bank statements, her social media accounts. What I found shocked me. Monique had been meeting with someone regularly. Not just meeting, she'd been receiving money. Thousands of dollars deposited into her account over the past few months. The money was coming from an offshore account, but I was able to trace it back to someone I knew. Someone who had access to Monique. Someone who could convince her to do something like this. My sister, Patricia. Patricia had been paying Monique to stage her own kidnapping. The plan was simple. Monique would disappear, Patricia would demand ransom money from me, and they'd split the money. But here's what Patricia didn't know. I didn't have $500,000. The money was gone, stolen by Raymond and Cassandra. I confronted Patricia at her house. I know what you're doing, I said. I know you've been paying Monique to stage her own kidnapping. Patricia's face went white. How did you find out? Because I'm not as stupid as you think I am. Patricia broke down and confessed everything. She'd been working with Raymond for months, helping him embezzle money, covering for his affair, even helping him plan my murder. But when Raymond was arrested, Patricia was left with nothing. So she'd come up with a new plan. Use Monique to get money for me. Patricia told me where Monique was hiding. She was at a motel on the other side of town, waiting for the ransom money to be delivered. I went to the motel and found Monique sitting in a room, watching TV and eating pizza. She looked up when I walked in, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. Mama, she said, I can explain. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If Raymond wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If he wanted to kill me, I'd kill him first. But first I needed to protect myself. And I had a plan that would expose him completely. The trap was set. Raymond had no idea what was coming. My daughter wasn't kidnapped. She was the mastermind behind the entire scheme. And she had been planning it for years. Monique didn't deny anything. She admitted to staging her own kidnapping, admitted to working with Patricia, even admitted to receiving money from her aunt. But why? I asked. Why would you do something like this to me? Because you're not my real mother, Monique said. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. What do you mean? Patricia told me everything. You're not my biological mother. You adopted me when I was a baby, but you never told me the truth. Monique had been living a lie for 17 years. Patricia had been feeding her stories about her real family, about how I'd stolen her from her birth parents, about how I'd been lying to her all along. But here's what Monique didn't know. Patricia was lying. I was her biological mother. Patricia had been manipulating her, using her own insecurities against her. Patricia had been working on Monique for months, convincing her that I was the enemy, that I'd been keeping secrets from her, that I didn't really love her. She'd been feeding Monique lies about her past, about her family, about me. And Monique had believed every word. I showed Monique her birth certificate, her medical records, photos from the hospital when she was born. You are my daughter, I said. You always have been. But Monique wouldn't believe me. Patricia said you'd say that. She said you'd try to convince me with fake documents. I had to prove to Monique that Patricia was lying. I showed her Patricia's bank statements, her phone records, her emails. I showed her how Patricia had been working with Raymond, how she'd been planning to destroy our family. But Monique still wouldn't believe me. You're just trying to turn me against Patricia. You're jealous because she's my real family. That's when I realized how deep Patricia's manipulation had gone. She'd convinced Monique that I was the enemy, that I'd been lying to her all along, that I didn't really love her. Monique had been brainwashed, and I didn't know how to reach her. Monique ran out of the motel room, leaving me alone with Patricia. You're sick, I said. You've been manipulating my daughter, turning her against me, using her for your own purposes. Patricia smiled. She's not your daughter anymore. She's mine. I lunged at Patricia, but she was ready for me. She pulled out a gun and pointed it at my head. Don't make me do this, she said. But I wasn't afraid. I was angry. Angry at Patricia for manipulating Monique, angry at Raymond for destroying our family, angry at myself for not seeing the truth sooner. That's when the police arrived. Detective Martinez had been following me, and he'd heard everything. He arrested Patricia and took her away. But Monique was gone. She'd run away, and I didn't know where she was. I spent the next week searching for Monique. I called her friends, checked her favorite places, even hired a private investigator. But she was nowhere to be found. It was like she'd disappeared off the face of the earth. That's when I realized what had really happened. Monique hadn't just run away, she'd been taken. Patricia had arranged for someone to pick her up, to take her somewhere safe. But where? And who was helping her? That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If Raymond wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If he wanted to kill me, I'd kill him first. But first, I needed to protect myself. And I had a plan that would expose him completely. The trap was set. Raymond had no idea what was coming. The real shock wasn't that my daughter was pregnant with my husband's child. It was that she was planning to kill me and inherit everything. I was sitting in my empty house when my phone rang. It was Monique's number, but when I answered, it wasn't her voice. Mrs. Henderson? This is Detective Rodriguez. We found your daughter. She's at the hospital. My heart stopped. What happened? Is she okay? She's fine, but she's asking for you. She says she has something important to tell you. I drove to the hospital in a daze. Monique was sitting up in bed, looking pale and shaken. When she saw me, she burst into tears. Mama, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I sat down beside her bed. What happened, Monique? Where have you been? Monique told me everything. She'd been working with Patricia for months, but she'd never intended to hurt me. Patricia had convinced her that I was the enemy, that I'd been keeping secrets from her, that I didn't really love her. But then I found out the truth, Monique said. Patricia was lying. She was using me to get to you. That's when Monique dropped the bombshell. Mama, I'm pregnant. And it's Raymond's baby. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck.
What?
Patricia arranged it. She wanted me to get pregnant so Raymond would have a reason to stay with me instead of Cassandra. She thought if I had his baby, he'd choose me over her. Monique explained the full scheme. Patricia had been planning this for years. She'd been manipulating Monique, turning her against me, even arranging for her to get pregnant with Raymond's child. The plan was simple. Monique would have Raymond's baby, Raymond would leave me for Monique, and Patricia would get control of the family money. But here's what Monique didn't know. Raymond had been using her too. He'd been planning to take the baby and disappear with Cassandra, leaving Monique with nothing. Raymond never loved me, Monique said, crying. He was just using me to get what he wanted. And Patricia was using me too. Everyone was using me. That's when I realized what had really happened. Monique wasn't the mastermind. She was the victim. Patricia had been manipulating her, Raymond had been using her, and I'd been too blind to see it. Monique had been caught in the middle of a scheme she didn't understand, and now she was pregnant with Raymond's child. I had to make a decision. Monique was my daughter, regardless of what Patricia had told her. She was pregnant, scared, and alone.
She needed me.
I love you, Monique, I said. No matter what happens, you're my daughter, and I'll always be here for you. But I also had to protect her. Raymond was still out there, and he was dangerous. Patricia was in jail, but she had connections. Monique and her baby were in danger. I called Detective Martinez and told him everything. We need to protect Monique, I said. Raymond is still out there, and he's dangerous. Detective Martinez arranged for Monique to be moved to a safe house. She'll be protected there, he said. But you need to be careful too. Raymond knows you're helping us, and he's not going to like it. That night, I received a call from Raymond. Lillian, you need to stop interfering. Monique is my daughter, and that baby is mine. You have no right to keep them from me. Monique is my daughter, I said, and I'll protect her from you. Raymond laughed. You can't protect her from me. I'm coming for her, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. I knew Raymond was serious. He'd already tried to kill me once, and he wouldn't hesitate to try again. I had to prepare for a fight. I installed security cameras around my house, changed all the locks, even bought a gun. I wasn't going to let Raymond hurt Monique or her baby. The next few days were tense. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for Raymond to make his move. Every phone call, every knock on the door, every car that drove by made me jump. But Raymond didn't come. He was biding his time, waiting for the right moment. That's when I got a call from Detective Martinez. We found Raymond. He's been hiding in a motel on the other side of town. We're going to arrest him tonight. The police arrested Raymond that night. He was caught trying to break into the safe house where Monique was staying. He had a gun, and he was planning to take her by force. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Raymond was finally behind bars, and Monique was safe. But I knew this wasn't over. Raymond had friends, connections, people who would help him. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If Raymond wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If he wanted to kill me, I'd kill him first. But first, I needed to protect myself. And I had a plan that would expose him completely. The trap was set. Raymond had no idea what was coming. My secret weapon wasn't a gun or a knife. It was a recording device that had been running for months, capturing every conversation in our house. I'd been recording everything for months. Every conversation, every phone call, every secret meeting. Raymond had no idea he was being watched. The recordings were all there. Raymond's conversations with Cassandra, his meetings with the hitman, his plans to kill me. Even his conversations with Patricia about manipulating Monique. But the most damning evidence was Raymond's own words. He'd admitted to everything on tape. The embezzlement, the affair, the murder plot. Even his plan to take Monique's baby and disappear with Cassandra. "I don't care about Lillian," he'd said on one recording. "She's just an obstacle. Once she's gone, I'll have everything I want." The trial was a media circus. Raymond's lawyers tried to argue that the recordings were illegal, that I'd violated his privacy, that the evidence couldn't be used against him. But the judge ruled in my favor. Mrs. Henderson had every right to protect herself, he said. The recordings are admissible evidence. I testified for 3 days, playing the recordings, explaining what had happened, showing the jury exactly what kind of man Raymond was. The jury was horrified. They'd never seen anything like it. A man plotting to kill his own wife, manipulating his own daughter, stealing money from his own company. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. They found Raymond guilty on all counts: embezzlement, conspiracy to commit murder, child endangerment, fraud. Raymond was sentenced to 25 years in prison. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Raymond was finally behind bars, and he'd never be able to hurt me or Monique again. But I knew this wasn't over. Raymond had friends, connections, people who would help him. He'd be out of prison eventually, and he'd come looking for revenge. I had to protect myself and Monique. I moved to a new house, changed my name, even got a new job. I wasn't going to let Raymond find us. But here's what I didn't know. Raymond wasn't the only one who wanted revenge. That's when I received a call from Cassandra. "You think you've won, but you haven't. Raymond may be in prison, but I'm still free. And I'm coming for you." I was terrified. Cassandra was dangerous, and she had nothing to lose. She'd already lost Raymond, lost the money, lost everything. Now she wanted revenge. I had to prepare for a fight. I installed security cameras around my new house, changed all the locks, even bought a gun. I wasn't going to let Cassandra hurt me or Monique. The next few weeks were tense. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for Cassandra to make her move. Every phone call, every knock on the door, every car that drove by made me jump. But Cassandra didn't come. She was biding her time, waiting for the right moment. That's when I got a call from Detective Martinez. "We found Cassandra. She's been hiding in a motel on the other side of town. We're going to arrest her tonight." The police arrested Cassandra that night. She was caught trying to break into my house. She had a gun, and she was planning to kill me. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Cassandra was finally behind bars, and I was safe. But I knew this wasn't over. Cassandra had friends, connections, people who would help her. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If Cassandra wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If she wanted to kill me, I'd kill her first. But first, I needed to protect myself. And I had a plan that would expose her completely. The trap was set. Cassandra had no idea what was coming. The real mastermind wasn't my daughter. It was my own mother, who had been planning my death for years. I was sitting in my new house when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, I saw my mother standing there, looking frail and vulnerable. "Lillian, honey," she said, her voice weak. "I need to talk to you. It's about Raymond." I let her in, but something felt wrong. My mother had never visited me before, not even when Raymond was arrested. Why was she here now? My mother sat down on the couch and began to cry. "Lillian, I've been lying to you for years. I've been working with Raymond, helping him destroy your marriage, even helping him plan your death." I felt like I'd been hit by a truck.
What?
"Raymond came to me 3 years ago," my mother said. "He told me you were cheating on him, that you were planning to leave him, that you were going to take Monique away from him. He asked me to help him protect his family." My mother had been feeding Raymond lies about me for years. She'd been telling him that I was unfaithful, that I was unstable, that I was a bad mother. She'd been helping him build a case against me. But why? I asked. Why would you do this to me? Because I was jealous, my mother said. You had everything I never had. A loving husband, a beautiful daughter, a happy family. I wanted to destroy it. My mother had been manipulating Raymond for years. She'd been feeding him lies about me, turning him against me, even helping him plan my murder. I told Raymond that you were planning to kill him, my mother said. I told him that you were dangerous, that you were unstable, that you needed to be stopped. My mother's scheme was simple: destroy my marriage, turn Raymond against me, even help him plan my death. She'd been working with him for years, feeding him lies, manipulating him, even helping him steal money from our accounts. But why would you want me dead? I asked. Because you're not my daughter, my mother said. You're my sister's daughter. She died when you were born, and I was forced to raise you. I've hated you ever since. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. My mother wasn't my mother, she was my aunt. My real mother had died when I was born, and my aunt had been forced to raise me. I've hated you ever since, my mother said. You're the reason my sister died. You're the reason I never had children of my own. You're the reason my life was ruined. That's when I realized what had really happened. My mother had been planning my death for years. She'd been working with Raymond, feeding him lies, manipulating him, even helping him plan my murder. But here's what my mother didn't know. Raymond had been using her too. He'd been planning to kill her as well, to take all the money for himself. I know what Raymond is planning, my mother said. He's going to kill me too. He's going to take all the money and disappear with Cassandra. He doesn't care about me, just like he doesn't care about you. That's when my mother made me an offer. Help me kill Raymond, she said. Help me get the money, and we'll split it. You can have your revenge, and I can have my freedom. I had to make a decision. My mother had been planning my death for years, but she was also my only family. She was offering me a chance at revenge, but at what cost? I'll help you, I said. But first I need to know everything. I need to know what Raymond is planning, who else is involved, and how we can stop him. My mother told me everything. Raymond had been planning to kill both of us, to take all the money, and to disappear with Cassandra. He'd been working with people we didn't know, people who would help him disappear forever. But we can stop him, my mother said. We can turn the tables on him, make him pay for what he's done, even get the money for ourselves. I spent the next week preparing for the fight. I installed security cameras around my house, changed all the locks, even bought a gun. I wasn't going to let Raymond hurt me or my mother. But here's what I didn't know. My mother was lying to me. She wasn't planning to help me. She was planning to kill me too. That's when I discovered the truth. My mother had been working with Raymond all along. She'd been feeding him information about me, helping him plan my murder, even helping him steal money from our accounts. The whole thing had been a setup. My mother had been using me to get to Raymond, to get the money, to get her revenge. I confronted my mother with everything I'd discovered. You've been lying to me, I said. You've been working with Raymond, helping him destroy my marriage, even helping him plan my death. My mother smiled. You're smarter than I thought. But it doesn't matter. Raymond is coming for you tonight, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. I ran out of the house, but my mother was right behind me. She had a gun, and she was planning to kill me. But I was faster. I made it to my car and drove away, leaving my mother standing in the driveway. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If my mother wanted to play games, I'd play them better. If she wanted to kill me, I'd kill her first. But first, I needed to protect myself. And I had a plan that would expose her completely. The trap was set. My mother had no idea what was coming. The final twist wasn't that my mother was a murderer. It was that I had been planning my own revenge for years, and this was just the beginning. I'd been planning my revenge for years. Not just against Raymond, but against everyone who'd betrayed me. My mother, my sister, my best friend, even my daughter. They'd all been working against me, and I'd been planning to destroy them all. I had recordings of everything. My mother's conversations with Raymond, my sister's manipulation of Monique, my best friend's betrayal, even my daughter's staged kidnapping. The recordings were all there and they proved everything. I went to the police with everything I had. The recordings, the evidence, the proof of everyone's crimes. They arrested my mother, my sister, my best friend, even my daughter. They were all guilty and they were all going to prison. The trials were quick. My mother was sentenced to life in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. My sister was sentenced to 10 years for fraud and child endangerment. My best friend was sentenced to 5 years for obstruction of justice. Even my daughter was sentenced to 2 years for staging her own kidnapping. I was finally free. Raymond was in prison, my mother was in prison, my sister was in prison, my best friend was in prison, even my daughter was in prison. I had my revenge, and I had my freedom. I moved to a new city, started a new life, even found a new love. I wasn't going to let the past destroy my future. But here's what I didn't know. The past wasn't done with me yet. As I sit here today, looking back on everything that happened, I have to ask myself, was it worth it? Did I do the right thing? Would I do it again? The answer is yes. I did what I had to do to protect myself and my family. I did what any mother would do. But the real question is, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have fought back? Would you have gotten revenge? Would you have done whatever it took to protect your family? That's the question I want you to think about. Because every family has secrets, every family has betrayals, and every family has to decide how far they'll go to protect what they love. So tell me, what would you have done? Drop your answer in the comments below, and let me know if you think I did the right thing. Because the real question isn't about what I did, it's about what you would do if you were in my shoes.